From Julio Cruz and Gaylord Perry to Alvin Davis and Harold Reynolds to father and son back to back bombs. From Junior J, Joey, and Edgar with Randy, A-Rod, Dan, and the Sheriff to Ichiro Moyer and Mikey C to King Felix, Kyle Cruz, and Cano to the present with Julio, Gilbert, Kirby, and Cal. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast. And my, oh my, we are in League Championship Series territory. Although it's been 23 years since our beloved Mariners have touched such hallowed ground, we got a lot to talk about with that, what we're learning from these teams that are making it far on the playoffs. But for starters, we got to give a huge shout out to Indy out there in Nashville, Tennessee, super producer, rocking the ones and twos. Him and his lovely fiance, Darby, Vaden Podcast Services, Vaden Podcast Services. They are the people that bring this show to life. They're the ones that make the magic happen. Got to give a huge shout out to my main man, RG, who is going to be unavailable tonight. The live chat's already got me cracking up right there. Oh, man. Tommy, good to see you, bro. But whether the Mariners have not been to the League Championship Series in 23 years or not, we're going to rep this team from every corner of this beautiful country, from Nashville, Albuquerque, Little Lake, Stevens. I think my friend's just a little bit down the highway from me, but y'all have heard him on the mic before. He did a season in review with us last year, so I wanted to get him back on the mic again. Erik, Neal, Easy E, what's going on, big bro?
Oh, dude, so happy to be back. Let's put the nail in this coffin that needs to be just buried deep to get it done.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Our friend Tommy is very smart and noticed that there's a slightly different skin tone sitting in the co-host seat tonight. I'd still gotta just give a huge shout out to my main man RG, but we are always going to get something out, hell or high water. Tommy here is a giant Mariners fan. He has been there through the thick and thin like we have. I thought this year was underwhelming, disappointing, and downright frustrating, man. We come up one game short. To me, it felt like we were a few back because typical Mariners fashion, we go on a winning streak once we're eliminated. We want to do it any other way, Erik. But just give me your general thoughts on the season and any way you see it at all.
Well, I mean, the season started off well enough, kind of false advertising almost, because we reverted back to the mean. We had a historically great pitching staff, but for whatever reason, we can't hit the damn ball. And it's not even, we can't make contact. We get rid of two guys to solve the strikeout problem, and we strike out even more. We lead the league this time. That slide that we had after the All-Star break, we've had those slides before, but there was no 14-game winning streak to get us out of it this time. I mean, hell, the Tigers went on a pretty historic run to end the season, get them into the playoffs. That wasn't happening for us this year. It was a very up and down, frustrating season where it continues to feel like the Mariners are more of an investment as opposed to let's go win. The Mariners are here to make someone else money as opposed to let's win. You know, from the fan perspective, that's where we're fans. We're allowed to be fans. We're allowed to be pissed. And it was, after getting so many lines from Stanton Depoto saying, oh, this year, 21, 22, 23, well, we're there, man. But it felt like this team was built for the playoffs because of our pitching staff, but we weren't good enough to get into the playoffs. You still have to get to the dance. If we got to the dance, I still think we could have done some damage, but we couldn't even get there. So we are where we are.
Fair enough, man. I think what is really frustrating to me too, and I mean we've gone over this at nauseum. Mariners lifer, what's up, bro? but it's one of those things where expectations, you
Mm,
know, in our lifetimes, if you were born in the 80s, you've had 30 to 40 years of Mariners baseball. And I would say 20 of them, we didn't even expect shit out of the team from the very get go. I just watch baseball because I love baseball. But there's seasons where I'm like, F the Mariners, man. If there's another game on, I'm going to watch that shit. But I thought we were going to be a good team this year. My prediction was 92 wins. Obviously, I was off. I don't think I'm crazy though. That's only a 4 game improvement from 2023. That's only a 2 game improvement from 21 and 22. I just felt that if our young guys get a little bit better, we get a little bit of production from all of our new guys, well, then we'll be all good. You're right. Ownership makes me a little bit crazy, dude. And I think it's really easy as a Seattle fan because we saw what Paul Allen did for the Seahawks. He, as soon as he bought the team, the fortunes. Granted, it's only one Super Bowl win, but we can't argue that the Seahawks have been consistent ever since Paul Allen bought the team. We couldn't say that for the Mariners. The Seahawks weren't even on TV in the early '90s as a kid because they were always blacked out. I'm telling you, Eric, if you got a guy that says I watched all the Seahawks on TV in the early '90s, you know they were lying because we were
lying.
blacked out so fucking much. But let me just give it back to you on the
Mm,
low block, man. It was this bad, second worst batting average, but you said it. The K's, the Mariners struck
oof.
out more than any other team in baseball, and check it, dude. They were the only team that struck out 10 times per game. The only team in double digits for K's per game.
It still hurts to hear. There are teams as sports fans, you pay attention to the other leagues, and there are teams and franchises that you make fun of. It's kind of being inept. Cleveland Browns, Charlotte Bobcats, Hornets, whatever you want to call them. There are just those teams, the Jets with the coach killer. There's just those franchises, and it's been a little bit of a humbling, frustrating thing. Maybe it's being older. The Mariners are that franchise in the MLB at the moment.
Mhm.
We're the ones that good effort. We're not quite the AAA team for the rest of the league like Tampa Bay and Oakland have become, but it's been it's been frustrating to be a fan of this place because we did have expectations. You did better than me. I predicted 93. Oops. What just our pitching was just that good, and yes, I expected a lot more out of our position players. T, let's get into that a little bit. What are you thinking for position players? There are positions we should look at, shore up, whether it be trade, free agency. What are you thinking?
Third base is the most obvious to me, and
Thank
it's
you.
not even close. And I love Josh Rojas too. I'm a big fan, but this is pro sports. You're either winning and productive, or you're gonna be replaced. That's just the nature of the beast. That's what happened to Scott Service. I still feel, I'm a big fan of his. I did feel it was time to move on from him, though. You know, 9, 10 years as a manager or a head coach for any pro sports team is kind of absurd, even for a great coach. Even for a great, y'all know how much I love Pete Carroll. Shit, he's the best pro sports coach in Seattle sports history. It might have ran its course. Now we can get into the Seahawks right now later, but sometimes relationships come to an end, and they always will in pro sports. Even Bill Belichick got fired. Even Tom Brady was told, "We don't want you no more." That's the nature of the beast. But third base and first base, and DH. So let's just put it this
Yeah.
way. Are arguably the 3 positions where you need power production the most. We got little to none. Just I thank God we have Luke Rayleigh because I would be fun. Like
Yeah.
I know there might be some defensive problems, but I would. We need that that speed, and that hustle desperately. But yeah, third DH, first base, and it's not even close to me.
I'm going with first, second, third. First, second,
Oh,
third.
yeah.
Um, I know Polanco just had surgery. Do we pick up his option? Do we do the buyout? I am getting kind of tired of bringing a free agent or a trade piece here for a year. He doesn't quite live up to his baseball card, and then we ship him out. Hi, Teo. Miss you. It is a little frustrating, but I love Rojas. I love Dylan Moore, but those guys are they are the utility guys give people breathers, give people days off, starters on double headers. You need those guys on your team. You absolutely do. But your whole team can't be comprised of that, which it feels like that's what Dakota's been going for the last 3 years. Aside from Julio and Cal, it's like, let's just get a bunch of guys who can play 5 positions.
Yep.
Great, but are we hitting above the Mendoza line?
Mm-hmm.
Not always. So first, second, third. The problem is with the free agents, even looking them over, Paul Goldschmidt's 37. Unless he's strictly a DH, sorry, dude. Don't want to hear it.
I'm a hard
Peter
out
Long,
on Schmidt.
he was great, love him, but he's 37. No. Pete Alonso's, of course, the dream. I don't know about that. Rizzo, again, 35, left. Yeah, exactly. Been going downhill. But that's the problem with that's what I'm getting at. The free agent market, these guys are hitting the market for a reason. Their old teams aren't holding them for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get a Pete Alonso or Christian Walker or someone, they got to want to come here. They got to want to come here.
Oh.
As a free agent, unless you're backing up several Brinks trucks, what do we offer right now? Well, you can play with Julio. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that's enough. First, second, third, and it's probably going to be trade. And then it's, okay, what do you trade away? I love RG, miss you, still want to do this with you, but the prospects are suspects. I love that line of his, but now it's, who do you want to trade?
Fair enough, man. You know what it comes back to? If you're a Mariners fan, it's that famous Ghetto Boys song, man. My mind is playing tricks on me. That's what that shit is, dude. Shout out to Sunday Evening Media. We had the least runs allowed. The least
Oh,
runs allowed, and we missed the playoffs. That's fucking hard to do. It really is. I mean, the strikeouts, abominable. But here's what I wrote down, and I have my handy dandy notebook. I'm like Steve from Blues Clues up in this shit. But this is just old notes I took down, dude. But the Mariners were 29th. Remember, 30 teams, 30 teams. 29th in doubles, 29th in triples, 29th in hits. I mean, you have to put the ball in play. You have to get base hits. Damn it. I mean, the way the Mariners hit at times, I would rather watch my sister's high school softball team because they could put the fucking ball in play. I guarantee you that. But here's a huge thing you just mentioned because that's new news that we haven't talked about yet that just came to light this week was Polanco needing surgery on
yeah.
his patellar tendon. That's huge. That's enormous. That shows me why he didn't have the agility I expected him to have at second base. That gives me a huge reason why he's not able to get any lower body torque at the plate. You're swinging with all arms, even in Little League, you're screwed, let alone with the incredible stuff these big leaguers have. That being said, though, I think it's too risky for the Mariners to get that 12.5, $13 million option when I think it's like a $700,000 buyout. That
750.
750. See, that math ain't
750.
mathing for the Mariners.
Exactly.
I see my
Yeah.
wonderful wife and Tommy both say JP gots to go. I can't, and you know what? I would love to replace JP. I would love to replace JP. But Eric, answer me this: are the Mariners gonna just pay a dude $11 million to not be on the team?
Not this franchise. Not
And
this.
that's what pisses me off. Shout out to Tay Williams. I haven't seen him on, but Tay is a Houston Astros fan, and I talked about it. Jose Abreu, superstar, slugger,
Yeah.
awesome in his time with the White Sox. They still owe him like $24 million over the next 2 years. Not good enough. You gots to go. You need an owner that's willing to do that sort of shit because this isn't tiddlywinks, man. This is a $1 billion industry. You got to act like it is.
Yeah, and I'm looking at some of our prospects that are hypothetically coming up, and the top two are Colt Emerson and Cole Young, shortstop, second base.
Mhm.
The projection of, year 25, year 26, if we even go into the retread market again to fill those gaps, like, I'm fucking done with it. Let the kids get some at bats. What did they say? 400 bats, 1,000 bats? Like, get them some at bats. Get them some
Mhm.
experience. I don't need to see another Mitch Train, Mitch Witch. I don't need to see another one of those. I love them to death. I don't need to see another one of those. But if you're going to replace JP or Polanco, I at this point it's almost like what do we got to lose? Because if we're going to trade for someone, if it's going to be someone like a Rosarena that we did, he's going to be younger. You're going to have the arbitration, but then are you even going to pay him? I don't know, man. At this point, it's a very frustrating thing because Mariners, who have we developed hitting wise in the past 20 years? Seager, Cal, Bueller. I'm I'm not counting I'm not counting J Rod yet. I'm not counting Rodriguez. For me,
He's
it's
been
his
good enough. We have to put him in.
for me,
And
it's
I
his
would say he has.
God-given I think it's
Okay,
his
go ahead.
God-given talent that he is just that good. As far as like developed, it's almost like Felix. When he came up, he was just that good. His God-given talent. Before Dom Wakamatsu slapped the side of his head and said, "Dude, you're better than this. What are you doing?" It almost feels like Julio needs a Wakamatsu go pop. Man, focus. So that's why I'm not putting him in yet, just because he is just that talented. He's
Mhm.
just that. I mean, he's got more in a fingernail than we could ever hope for in a lifetime.
He should be a perennial MVP candidate. He should.
100%.
So yeah, no, I hear that. I
So
hear that.
the lack of developing hitters is very worrisome because it's not just Dipoto. This has been a Mariners problem, and for whatever
Mhm.
reason, in the current Mariners iteration, unless it's in this one little spot, don't swing. Okay, now you're down 0-2. Next guy, down 0-2. Nick, I stumbled across this week when Pete Rose, God rest, was talking to A-Rod and Frank Thomas. Guy has gotten more hits than anybody. Maybe you should pay attention when he talks. He
Mhm.
said, control what you can control. You're having trouble with the curveball? Step up in the plate. Step back in the plate. Forward, back, choke up, choke down. And the one thing I loved, he was like, don't change your swing. These guys that are tinkering with their swing constantly, like your swing got you to the big leagues. Move up in the box, move back in the box. Now, I understand different eras and comparing eras, I'm pretty sure is only exists to give ESPN people a job. But hitting the ball, like, forget singles, doubles, we can't even make contact right now with the amount we're striking out. And it feels like whatever they're doing in this organization, they're overcomplicating it. Again, fan view. So simple it down. I don't know. And maybe we can develop some hitters for the first time in God knows how long.
Okay. So I'm gonna say one thing though too is if you want to have your homegrown talent, you
Mm.
got to keep your homegrown talent. And this is what's funny
Yeah.
is because I'm a proponent of generally trading for proven guys, but it's you can't just completely sell out. But I guess what I'm getting at here is I see Mariners Life are saying, was Ketel Marte in our system? Yes. Ketel
Yes.
Marte went with Taiwan Walker to Arizona for Mitch Haniger and Gene Segura.
Jeet Segura. Yep.
That's honestly the proverbial win-win trade.
Hmm.
If the Mariners make the playoffs in that Cano Cruz era with Handy and Seager and Segura, that was a good squad. Like just like this year, even though I felt it was kind of a cheap way, like I said, one game out. They one game out. Win two more games and you're in. But let's just look. You traded Ketel Marte. He might be the best hitting second baseman in baseball. And then let's go back further to the Bavasi era. I know you're going to
Oh,
remember all of these names. Adam Jones,
yeah. Craig
then
traded to Baltimore for the dollar.
Sinshu Chu. We traded Sinshu Chu, and we traded Asdrubal Cabrera. So look at that, man.
Oh,
If you still, and they were all in about the same time period. If you still have Asdrubal Cabrera, you still have Sinshu Chu, and you still have Adam Jones, that's a core that you can fucking win with. You can just kind of like we have right now. What's so frustrating? The Mariners have a great young core, but we can't fill in the rest of the puzzle pieces well enough to make it come together. Ketel Marte with a career 280 average Mariners lifer. Oh shit, 280, man. Do we even have a single dude that hit 280? And just really
uh,
quick, Eric,
hmm,
when you were just talking about the Pete Rose back forth,
hmm.
side to side in the box, choke up, choke down. I saw one Mariner consistently do that this year, and he was the surprise best player, and that was Robles.
Yeah, he did when he got here, and I loved how much he shifted in the box. It's like if you're struggling, don't ever let a pitcher tell you you're in a slump. Adjust what you can adjust, control what you can control. I should make it a slight amendment to my have we developed hitters. Any hitters that we actually kept and that didn't pop as soon as we freaking traded them.
And maybe they don't pop.
Marte,
Maybe they don't pop
Jones.
if they didn't leave. Maybe they had to leave to pop. Who knows?
It was very interesting here. I'll go back to it a while ago when Teo was talking about the batter's eye. It was just an interesting conversation. I don't know if there's anything to it, but you know, even if for some miracle of God I got to stand in the batter box at T-Mobile, I wouldn't freaking know what I'm looking at. It was like, is that what he couldn't concentrate on? But I loved that Robles shifted and adjusted. And where is more of that? I don't get so consumed to just doing the same thing, definition of insanity, expecting a different result. I know this is what got you to the big leagues. Keep your swing, adjust what you can. I don't know. It does make sense, but it's, again, very easier for me to say when I don't have, 100 miles an hour coming right at my knees.
Oh shit, we got our Texas brothers, man. So I don't know
I
if you
just
knew
saw
this,
that.
but Tay and Texas Power Ranger are the Texas homies. I think Tay's feeling sad because his Cowboys got absolutely
Oh,
embarrassed at home. Oh boy. But I ain't gonna talk that shit because my teams got embarrassed on Thursday night also. We can lament a little bit about that more in a minute. But Tommy's bringing up trade JP Hancock and another prospect for a big bat. I like that. My only thing is I don't think Hancock has a ton of value. And
no.
JP's got a hefty contract for a couple more years for what he's producing. Now, I'll give JP a little bit of credit here. If he didn't get hurt several times this year, I bet he would do way better. But there is a very good chance that we never see 2023 JP again. Guys have career years. That shit happens. And I think as fans, lots of times we trick ourselves to thinking that every single player's going to be on an upward trajectory until they get old enough that their physical skills decline. Baseball, that's not the case. I mean, I think Ty France hit his peak, and I think JP might have hit his peak. You could probably come up with a bunch of other dudes, but we might need to pull the trigger on a better pitcher than Hancock to get the bat we really want. Now, here's what I got to ask you then. What do you think about Alex Bregman?
Um, you knew that was coming. What is he now? 30? He had a very interesting year. He had an up and down year. He still has contact, still has power. He'd immediately be one of the best hitters on our team. That's true of a lot of players, but uh, is he unrestricted? I don't
Yeah.
remember looking at. Oh,
And Houston even pulled him out of the game once they clinched the playoffs to have a big old standing ovation. So it seems pretty clear that he might be gone and hitting the market. All
I
right,
would
dude. I
not.
just
I
have to
would not
legend
back up
you.
the Brinks truck. I would not back up the
Oh,
Brinks truck to him.
no.
What I want to sign him for like a good price, but he kind of reminds me of Chris Bryant a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Don't back up the Brinks truck if you can get him for reasonable. But as far as one of those 10-year, 200, 300, 400 million, God no. Oh, Texas Power Ranger with some new. Okay.
Oh, I like it. Well, we're getting into
Hmm.
the hot stove already, man. And when you're close, the hot stove's so much more fun because we know how close we
Warm.
are.
It's warm.
Okay, I got something to ask you then.
Okay.
Obviously he's a franchise legend. He's a Seattle legend. My
Hmm.
grandma thought he was oh so handsome back in the '90s and early 2000s. But Edgar Martinez is an absolute difference maker. When he came on the scene, the Mariners batting increased in every statistic. back in 2016, I think was when he got his first run,
Mm.
and they had good hitting squads his entire tenure. I'm imploring Stanton and ownership to give him whatever dollar amount will make Edgar stay on full time. Because especially if you look at it from an investment side too, paying a hitting coach, make him easily the highest paid hitting coach in Major League Baseball, is still vastly cheaper than going and acquiring like three hitters. And Edgar can have an impact at a much cheaper dollar rate than acquiring these guys. So Stanton, freaking do it. But what do you think about Edgar and Dan when they took over?
I think it helps that they are from the era that they're in, and maybe it goes back to what I'm kind of preaching, is that simplicity. It's like it doesn't have to be so overcomplicated. I mean, yes, it needs to be probably a little bit more complicated than see ball, hit ball, but at the same time, get back to where's your hand positioning, get back to, well, I don't know, get back to basics. Didn't want to actually say it, but yeah, get back to basics, because obviously whatever has been going on is not good enough. Not even close. And when Edgar's been here, it's made a noticeable difference in hit. And even if there's a couple line drives that you just absolutely smoke right at someone, okay, you're getting the bat on the ball and you're hitting it hard. It will drop in, you will get through, keep going. I want them to keep Edgar because it has made a noticeable difference. It felt like when they hired Dan, like that was the hire. It didn't seem like there was going to be a search this offseason. Everything that I was hearing, reading, whatever, like, nope, Dan's our next manager. There was going to be no search during the winter meetings or anything like that. So I'm kind of going into it as I'm already thinking that Dan is our manager.
Mm-hmm.
I, wasn't sure if he actually wanted the gig, to be honest. He does stuff with Root Sports. He does stuff with, the Mariners, but I wasn't sure because depending on your life situation, that's a grind. It's a very big commitment. But from everything, it sounds like it. So, I mean, what were we, 21 and 13 with those two? I know it's a
Yeah.
small sample size. It's a small sample size, but you have to start somewhere. So it's like, oh, they don't have all these years of experience. It's like, well, the only way you get that is by doing. So you know what? I don't see any reason not to keep them. This should be the hitting coach and the manager for the next couple of years.
Well, here's the thing, dude. Dan is the coach, or Dan is
Yeah,
the manager.
yeah.
Like there's no more interim tag. The question is Edgar.
I want him to keep him.
Edgar only promised to be here till the end of the season. That's why I'm saying we got to be the fucking Godfather and give him an offer he can't refuse, because we know that the baseball travel is a grind. And then
Mm.
so we're always talking about getting better hitting coaches as Mariners fans, dude. So I looked it up at some point this season, a list of all the hitting coaches in Major League Baseball. I think I recognized one or two names. And there's
Oh,
something we know that's happened in all sports is that a lot of these guys have made so much career earnings, and coaching is such a grind that why take that grind, how, like, we see more famous football players become high school coaches compared to pro coaches. Like, tons of famous football players have become high school coaches. Deion Sanders is the exception. The grind is real, so we got to give Edgar enough money to get in here. Huge thing, 21 and 13, yeah, small sample size. But that's a 618 win percentage. You do that, you're
yeah.
making the playoffs 10 out of 10 times. And the one
Yep.
that really matters to me, dude, is when I added them up, we were 3.9 runs per game with Service and DeHart. With Dan and Edgar, we're 5.1. If we could have
That's
done 5.1
huge.
all year, we win 95 games. No fucking joke.
Well, and that 54% gets you bounced from the playoffs. Hi, Houston. 54% is not good enough. Fuck 54%. 54% gets you bounced from the playoffs. 600, now we're talking. Now you're like, okay, we're a borderline juggernaut. Let's have some fun.
Mhm.
So, no, I want him to keep Edgar badly, but again, it's a grind. I'm curious how many hitting coaches are some of the players that kind of teetered out in like single A, double A, triple A, but they just have that love for the game. That's why so
Hmm.
many catchers are coaches. Some of them just translates better. Some people are just better coaches. That's okay. And yeah, but even local boy on the radio, Michael Bumpus. He was a high school coach. He coached Monroe for a couple years before joining the radio.
Yep. Yep.
They coach high school. That's a very good example. So if we don't keep Edgar, I am very nervous. But it's because of the unknown, essentially. But we'll see what happens.
Let's just, if Edgar decides not to come back, we just gotta hope he has the Obi-Wan Kenobi effect, and they'll
No, seriously.
remember all of the wise teachings. Because Edgar is a Jedi. Actually, the nickname I came up for him this year, dude, was Edgar is the sensei of hitting. Because tell me
Ooh,
who isn't? That's Edgar.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So Sunday evening media has a good one, and all the trade talk we neglected the bullpen, and it seems like that on the surface, but this is why bullpens are so finicky and you never know year to year. Because on paper, Eric, I was so jacked about our bullpen in the offseason because I'm thinking we got Munoz, we got Stanek, we have Brash, and we have Santos. If those are your top four dogs, you are making it 6 inning games, baby. 6 inning games with our starters and those four bullpen guys. Two guys are injured all year. One guy completely underperformed and got shipped out of town. Bullpens are so finicky. And then we went and traded for Jimmy Garcia. And he is a really good pitcher. And Toronto knew something we didn't because his arm's about to fall off right now. And so
Yeah.
it's just the nature of a bullpen. On paper, I was fucking in love with our bullpen, and it went the complete opposite way. Mariners Slifer says the streams are fun to watch. Actually, what am I saying? I'm saying get off Call of Duty, but I can't get off College Football 25. So who am I to say shit? Who am I to say shit? But yeah, Sunday evening, Danik blew up for us, but health
Yeah,
would
pun
hurt us.
intended. Nice.
Good shit, dude. Good shit.
I think the frustrating part of being a Mariners fan is we remember as shit as this franchise has been overall, we remember Nelson, Rhodes, Sasaki. You got to
Mm,
the sixth inning and it was just like, okay, we can go home now. Bye.
yeah.
You were not getting past those three.
Hmm.
And we had such an amazing run of watching those three that we are kind of under the I don't know, false belief that that can be replicated. That was pretty special.
Hmm.
Having a 7, 8, 9 where it's like, you're not getting past them. It's just not happening. As far as bullpens, it's like it feels like I mean, one guy's great one year, crap the next, great the next year, crap the next. That's why they bounce around. Even the best closers bounce around. I
Hmm.
mean, Rivera was I mean, he that was so rare to stay with
Yeah.
one team. I mean, usually you're a closer for 3 4 years with one team. You either have a rough patch or contract, go on to the next, go on to the next, go on to the next. Any relievers that you like that you're looking at, whether they're on the trade block or not? Just like, is there someone that you think would fit?
Well, honestly, with the Mariners' budget and how much we need help in the lineup, I think they got to just do what they do and try to find some hidden gems. The
Mm,
one thing I would say is if we can get Brash and Santos healthy for next year, that's a huge difference maker. Troy Taylor impressed me a ton, and he is a young buck. So I think a lot of it might need to come within Tommy, Tanner Scott. I'd be in love with that. Mason Miller, I would start crying tears of joy. I just don't know if that's really realistic for this team. It's Texas Power Ranger knows my love language though. I'm one of the biggest Brent Roker fans. And I don't think he's going anywhere because I guarantee you every playoff contending team that needed a bat called Oakland about him. But you have a cheap, controllable dude that hits the snot off the ball. What? Don't trade him.
yeah.
And I can't even remember. Like we get into this as fans all the time. But it was Vlad Jr. because we were all wanting
Oh,
Vlad
yeah.
Jr. so bad, and I just put myself in Toronto's front office in their, managerial office. I ain't trading Vlad Jr. for shit. I trade Vlad Jr. We're gonna be fired in a year, so we might as well roll with it. I think we need to. realize some guys might be untradeable. Texas Power Ranger, I would trade you JP and Hancock and a top 100 for a bat, but I don't know who you would want to give us in return. It's gonna be, to say the least, a crazy off season, and I'm also pumped for the league championship series just as a fan. I know not everyone likes big markets, but deep down, I kind of wanted this to try to shove some mud in the Mariners ownership's faces that you do got to spend some money to make it all the way to the end. I think it would be bad for the Mariners if, let's say, all four of the final four in MLB were low budget teams. Then Stanton and his ownership group, like, hey, y'all just need to do better. Y'all just need to do better. I think it's good for the Mariners' perspective to see some high market, high budget teams in there. To hey, you got to spend to play with the big boys.
Well, and Cleveland's below us, and they only were 106 million. It looked like for the year. They were 23rd, ranked 23rd in payroll, but they actually have guys that they've built around. They signed Quan. They built around Ramirez. Bieber was out this year. Bieber had, I know, because I freaking drafted him in fantasy, and after 2 starts, I'm like, this sucks. Kind of killed me. 92 wins, and your ace is out. They're doing something right.
Yeah.
They're doing something right. So, yeah, there were 5 teams below us in payroll that made the playoffs. What are they doing that we're not? And that's kind of a rhetorical question. It's what are they doing? I understand Detroit went on one hell of a run. I mean, their young kids popped. Baltimore has brought up a bunch of their young kids. A lot of them are performing. And that's kind of what I mean is these teams are developing their own, and they're also keeping their own. They're not hitting as soon as they get traded. And it's like, oh, I don't have to play in Seattle anymore. Whee! Let's hit the ball everywhere. I don't understand, but at the same time, the top 6 in payroll, well, they were all dancing.
Mm.
You got to be smart with spending your money. Going in on retreads every year is not smart. Going in on retreads every year, Jerry, are you listening? Is not smart.
Mm-hmm.
Again, easy for me to say, but I'm very excited. I'm full on going for Cleveland. Fuck New York. I can't stand the Yankees, of course, but that's growing up a Ken Griffey Jr. fan. If the Yankees are the only team that offered me a contract, I'd retire. My man. What are you thinking about these matchups? Both New York teams dancing, which, take that for what it is.
I mean, I guess I have to root for Cleveland. Because my wife's grandpa is a diehard Indians fan, and yeah, I said
okay.
Indians. Kill me.
Well, yeah, that's what they are.
Yeah, they're definitely behind the Ohio teams. I think some of them came over to the Seahawks when they moved out here, but we're talking about age here, and I just want to point this out to you really quick because this is one of my homework assignments from a couple weeks ago. Haniger and Garver both acquired at age 33. There is only 6 out of 50 of the top 50 in OPS. Only 6 of those guys are over 33.
Yeah. Well, when we start looking at some of these young kids hitting and becoming superstars, that's kind of why I'm starting to get a little bit more on the Colt Emerson, Cole Young. Yeah, they're 21 and 19. If not everyone, but yeah, the roids don't exist anymore. I think RG brought that up a week or two ago. We're not shooting up anymore. The kids are getting in their primes earlier, getting some experience. Like JP, I'm really not JP, excuse me, Julio, very hopeful for next year because there's a couple years under his belt now.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like baseball's a funny one because it feels like it's a couple years under the belt and then it really clicks. I mean, shoot, even when Cal Raleigh hit, he went down that year and then came up and then started killing it. Like whether something clicks or just something makes more sense, slow the game down, more comfortable. Some people perform absolutely terrible under pressure. Some, like Cal, it doesn't seem like it matters. Game slows down. So with all these free agents, I'm not really excited about any of them just because most of their numbers are start with a three. And when you're an old guy and understand that the old guys in baseball are 10 years younger than you, great. But you got to start somewhere. And
Hmm.
let's get some of these young kids a shot because I know, Harry Ford could be interesting because he's blocked as long as we keep Cal. You know, I'm not sure what kind of deal we could make with someone with him, but it's an intriguing trade piece.
Hmm. I mean, if he stays at catcher, that's one of the most important positions in the game.
Yeah.
So I think there's honestly more than one reason. Like the Mariners have played him a little, given him a little outfield love, but I think everyone wants him at catcher because that's where the value is positionally. I like what Tommy's saying here, though. Kirby, Colton,
Oh,
Hancock,
hell.
Roker, and Miller. Whoa, whoa, what a blockbuster. What a blockbuster. I might do it, but I think Texas Power had a great point further up the live chat where he's saying from his outside looking in perspective, the Mariners rush too many prospects, give up on them too early. And I agree over our history. They've done a good job with some guys. Now, I honestly think Kelenic is too much of a hothead
Mm.
to become a great player. Baseball is built on failures, so if you have a hothead mentality, you might burn yourself out. It looks that's kind of like what he does. But we screwed Kelenic over. We bring him up and put him at leadoff on a struggling team. Who the hell does that? I guarantee you, the Dodgers or the Indians would have put him at like eighth or ninth. We rushed Zanino. We rushed Justin Smoke. We had a great start for Dustin Ackley, but didn't send him back down quick enough, like you mentioned with Cal. If it looks like it's going south fast, salvage their career, send them down, get their shit right, then they're ready to come back up. The Mariners have done that too often. But what's really tough for me, Eric, is I think you and Sunday Evening and all these guys like thinking that we need a little more growth, a little
Mm.
more time. You know, it would be optimal to have all these young hitters come up and then our only expensive guys are like Julio and Cal at that point. But do we have the window though? Because we got Gilbert who will have 2 years left. Kirby, Cal, 3 years left. A
Well,
Rosarena, possibly 2 years left. Robles, 2 years left. So does the window even work out, or are we maybe going to be forced to maybe trade a couple young guns we don't want to just so we don't miss the window? And I think that's why everyone's up in arms is we're missing the window right now. Have the Mariners ever had the best starting staff in baseball before?
uh, not like this.
No,
No, no,
no. And I've had some people come back at me and say 2001, and I couldn't
no.
disagree more. Paul Abbott was like 17-5, but that's because we'd score 8 runs a game for him. Brett Boone was hitting like fucking Ted Williams that year. Edgar Martinez in a peak. John Olerud in a peak. I could go on forever. Ichiro.
Ichiro, rookie at.
5 guys. Come on.
Well, short answer, do we have the time? No, we would miss the window. No, we don't have time.
Okay.
But these guys are the ones that get paid to make that window work. Jerry can obviously identify talent. He can obviously develop pitching talent. My rhetorical question, which I don't think anyone knows the answer to, why can we not develop good, consistent hitting talent? And I'm not talking turning everyone into Mike Trout. I'm talking you got Julio, but then you also need your number 6, 7 hitters who, you know, 20 bombs, decent average, who's not just going to, it's not just a hole in the lineup. I mean, at this point, you might as well put 5 pitchers in the lineup because they're going to get as many hits. They're going to strike out just as often. So I think that's where it's like short answer. No, we're going to have to make some uncomfortable decisions and trade people. But
Mm-hmm.
farm systems keeps GMs employed. When you have a top 5 farm system, that GM is going to stay. That's what keeps them employed. I'm fully convinced of that one.
Mm.
You can have an average baseball team, but if you're top five farm system, you're keeping your job. And as a fan, fuck that.
I mean, lots of times it comes down to how much the owner wants to win.
Does Stanton want to win?
To an extent. That's what I always say. It's not like he
Good
wants to
answer.
lose, but you know me and RG's theory. We both fully believe that 54% is a business decision, not a baseball decision. Because what do we know? In the summer, T-Mobile Park's going to sell like a mother. Everyone wants to go to the most. It's still what almost 25 years later, and it's immaculate every time
Yeah.
I go there. It's just a beautiful, majestic ballpark. You have the Puget Sound air coming off right on you. It is just a beautiful place to be. But then, can you sell tickets in the spring? Can you sell tickets in the fall? Because kids are in school in both of those time periods. If there's no hope, no one's going to give a shit and you're not going to come in the spring. If you're out of it in the fall, then we're not really going to care and we'll turn ourselves to Huskies, Cougars, and Seahawks. So that's where we get the 54% is to keep people invested the entire year. And you can, have the best profit margin in baseball without pushing all your chips in the middle in terms of the baseball product on the field.
Well, you know my feelings on the 54%. And, our jobs, which we're out there all night and I'm listening to Rick Riz mostly on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I voted with my dollars this year. This is the first year I didn't go to a game.
Mm.
I got a family, little girl who's 7 who takes, a lot of time, of course, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't have it any other way. But with life being what it is and, you know, groceries, inflation, yada, 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 I voted with my dollars. Did not go to a game. Not only that, the only thing I was using for watching the Mariners was Fubo. Discontinued it because it was 90% I was listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I wanted to catch the later innings, I could always find someone on YouTube. Love y'all, whoever it was. Someone was always having it either gamecast commentating. They had it playing, hold their phone up to the TV, and there was someone
Mm-hmm.
was always doing that. So yeah, that I 100% agree that it is a business decision. Your fans are beginning to make business decisions also.
Yeah.
That's my feeling.
I mean, fair enough. Another, like you just laid out a great example, and I guess me and my brother will be another. Is we went to one game earlier in the year, and then as the season went on and the team was falling apart, like screw it, man. I mean, going to a
Mm.
game's expensive. You got to make decisions in life. I mean, we can go to the Mariners, we could go golfing, we could go to the Seahawks, and if the Mariners, we're like, screw it, we can't do everything. So we only went to one game this year, and this ownership group will take any out they can, though, because if we all stop showing up, they're like, "Oh, we'll just reduce
Yeah.
payroll more." They're always gonna have their out. I just got to give a shout out to Sunday Evening Media, although I don't really agree. I love his balls. He's got John Schneider balls, not afraid to make a blockbuster trade, saying he's willing to trade Kirby or Cal. Now, I could not trade Cal because our hitting is so pathetic and he is our one source of power, easily our most clutch hitter. He does a fantastic job behind the dish. I think I could easily trade Kirby. And here's the thing too, is you got to look at it from the other team's perspective. Castillo, he has good trade value, but he's got a big ass contract. So that lowers his value from how good he is. Kirby is only entering ARB 1.
Yeah.
Only entering ARB 1. That is massive, massive trade value. And then Gilbert, ARB 2, also massive trade value. And then Miller and Wu maybe have the most because they're still not even ARB eligible yet. So we'll see with that. But from a trade perspective, if I'm a team, I'd want someone a little more proven than Miller or Wu. His injury problems for Wu, that is concerning. But we might have to make a power move. It's not like I even want to trade any of these guys per se. But like you said, you bring up the free agent list and it's kind of scary. And so it leads me to believe that a bunch of guys are going to get paid a ton. I don't think we can lock in Bregman for like a $200 million contract. I don't know if we can do the same for Pete Alonso, even though I love him. And because according to Google StatCast, Citi Field in Queens, New York is the second toughest ballpark to hit in. That's what you have to look for if the Mariners are trying to sign a dude, because we know how some guys come here to the Pacific Northwest and get completely lost. But man, I love the balls. And you're right. Here's the thing: Cal might have the most trade value of any single player on the team right now. It's
Cal or
either
Kirby?
Cal, yeah, or Gilbert, or I.
Yeah.
mean,
Gilbert.
there's a rare few, and say what you want about Julio. The bottom line is that contract pushes him down the list, even if he's playing at an MVP level. Teams are looking like everyone. That's why Brent Roker hasn't been traded, because he's still super cheap and fucking awesome. Yeah, it's really hard to find guys that are killing it and cheap. That's what makes it. That's why Jerry DePoto gets paid millions and gets to live in one of the nicest neighborhoods in the country somewhere on the east side to make these damn decisions and make them right.
Yeah, no, I think Cal has more value than we can even pay him with what he does behind the plate, not even at the dish, what he does behind the plate. I think you can pay him a highest paid catcher, highest paid position player, and he's still worth more. Now, that's a full fanboy personal opinion. He needs the C on his chest. He is the captain. Like, but if we do want to make some kind of legitimate move, I hate trading pitching, but you would have to have the Kirby discussion. I think I would have the Kirby discussion before Gilbert. I think Kirby, because of the ARB1, because he's been an all-star, I think he might just be able to be that piece to bring back. I don't even know who. I know Juan Soto's situation is weird with his free agency and it's New York, but if you want to get something that's going to be an actual difference maker, it was always frustrating to hear friends go like, "Oh, trade our three worst players for Mike Trout." Like, what are you talking about? It just doesn't work like that. So, but again, the money problem is going to be the other problem too. Because if you're getting back a legitimate player, is he also an ARB1? Is he an ARB2? How much does he cost? So many things that these guys get paid millions of dollars to do. And it seems like we can figure it out in a couple minutes just doing a quick Google search of, this guy's worth this much. Are the Mariners going to pay him? Who knows? It's great being a Mariners fan.
Hey, you gotta love these guys.
Oh, old school. Good God.
Okay, so quick flashback story. One of my really old friends who I played sports with, etc. But he got from the ballpark, those free like handouts, the little posters or whatever. And it was, you gotta love these guys. And some point in his life they pissed him off, when we were younger, and he crossed out the love and put hate in markers. So I just always remember that one.
I think I had a Sonics jersey that said, "You got to love this team," with the Sonics logo. And it was, Peyton and Kemp. And I love that just made its way through.
And I mean, if y'all don't know, the Sonics were so much more popular in that time era.
Yeah. That was the team. In the 90s. That was the team.
Oh, yeah. It's funny looking back, and we haven't had the Sonics in so long, but that's how you know if someone's been around the block in the Pacific Northwest for a certain amount of time. Do they know that they're like in the 90s, especially the early to mid 90s, the Huskies football and Sonics basketball were easily the two hottest tickets in town.
Oh, Seahawks and Mariners were distant third and fourth.
Yes.
They weren't even even when they had, playoff teams, and they weren't even close. Seahawks especially, they weren't even close to what they were now.
Oh, no. The owner tried to move them.
You remember those shirts, the Tampa Bay Mariners?
Oh, that shit pisses me off. Hey, so you want to know something really cool? Shout out to my dad. Rest in peace, Smitty. Rest in peace. But so back in '95, we're not only are they making the most miraculous comeback ever in the division, but we were fighting to keep them in Seattle, like you said. They were going to go to Tampa Bay, and so my dad and a couple of his friends were part of this grassroots organization called Hometown Fans, and it was just going out on your own free time and promoting to save the team. And I remember I went to a couple of Husky games, and I don't even know if we actually went to them or not, but we were because, like we just said, Huskies and Sonics, most popular team in the 80s and 90s for a long stretch. We were passing out flyers just to make people aware that you need to vote if you want to save the Mariners from moving to Tampa Bay. So I remember handing out flyers in front of Husky Stadium with my dad in the mid 90s to try to keep our beloved shitty team that makes the playoffs once in 23 years. That's the type of love we got for these
Ah,
dudes.
it's like golf. We do this to ourselves.
We pay all this money to get pissed off.
Ah, so true, man. Goodness. Hell.
Ooh, I like where Mariners Lifer is thinking though. That's the what you have to do. If we're gonna trade a true big dog, we gotta attach a shitty contract to it. Hell, I want to keep JP. Get rid of at least one of the Mitch witches. Did you see that Mitch Haniger has a $17.5 million player option for next year?
Yes. Why, if
I
you're him,
mean,
why would you not exercise it? Like,
we'd have to check him
oh,
into an insane asylum if he didn't accept it. I mean,
oh,
seriously.
God in heaven.
It sucks because he has to take it. He'd literally
Oh
be
yeah.
insane not to. But so
Unless he gets some injury that is essentially career ending, forces him to retire. Unless there's something where the doctors go, your body can't do it. Yeah, why? Of course he's going to. Which I don't know, man. Love him, of course. Great clubhouse, but at the same time, this is a performance business, and you're not performing. Unfortunately, got to figure out something because Rayleigh for me is the DH
mhm.
mainly. And where do you put Mitch? Like I don't want to see him in the outfield anymore.
He rides the pine. It sucks, but
Yeah, that's what we talk about with smart spending too.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna be spending the people you spend money on, they have to do something. They have to produce, even if it's not all-star level. They can't be just a hole in your lineup.
Hmm.
They can't just strike out three, get the freaking golden sombrero every other day. Can't have that, which feels like it's happening too often. Didn't we talk about this last year? Feels like we did.
Dude, we've been talking about this ever since I knew the
God.
economics of baseball at all. I mean, let's bring it all the way back to like the 90s, like we were just going back in the time machine, man. I remember asking my dad one morning, "Hey, Dad, why did we trade Tino Martinez and Jeff Nelson to the Yankees?" And that's when I got my first lesson in sports economics. And it's something you got to consider and know about. I mean, it's fine if you don't want to, but I don't if you want to come to the grown-ups table, this shit matters. I'm not trying to take any money out of anybody's pockets. We're
No.
both union teamsters. I hope every person can put as much in their pocket as they possibly can. It's tough to make a penny in this world. But as fans, we also, these are businesses, man, and you know, the lowest paid player in Major League Baseball is getting like 750 a year. That's more than 99% of the country, if not a higher number than 99. So it's not like they're out here getting robbed or anything like that. But Mitch Haniger's just a tough one because he's a fan favorite. We all love him, but the contract is absolutely brutal, and there's nothing we can do about it except would John Stanton pay a dude $17.5 million to leave the team?
Go call Houston. Call Houston. How did you handle Abreu? Oh, you just got rid of him. You're still
Yeah,
paying him.
there you go.
You just got rid, but you're still paying him. Oh yeah, but now you can actually get someone who produces a little bit better, helps the team. But you're still paying. Oh no, we can't do that. You're still paying him. Okay, good talk.
Well, it kills
That's
me to
just
say it because I hate Houston, but that's the difference between a team that's serious and a team that's
yeah,
kind of a little bit serious.
yeah, because you want the ownership. Like Mark Cuban's a very easy example because he obviously does whatever he can to make the Mavericks competitive. And you would hope to have an owner like that where Am I always going to make the right? Jerry Jones, my God, put him away. At least sorry, Texas. He's doing what he thinks is right in the moment. You're never questioning his passion for the team and trying to win. He sucks at it, but you never question the passion. I think Stanton wants to win, but I think you got it right. Like, he just doesn't quite feel like it. It feels like the investment side of him can overrule the let's do anything to win side of him. And I think RG has brought it up a couple times. You would be selling Mariners World Series hats for 20 years. The investment you would get back, you can't actually comprehend. So, I don't know. Maybe that's an easy way to look at it, but that's how I look at it.
Well, for me, it's like you're a billionaire. You know, you have more money than you're ever going to know what to do with. Humanity is probably going to screw this whole thing up before your money runs out, generations, and generations down the line. I see you saw something.
You see what I was trying?
Hey, go take it away right now, bro.
Tay Williams, love you. Jerry Jones needs to find a coffin. I have no argument, sir. I got no argument at all.
Oh,
that's
man.
Amazing.
The live chat never fails us. Tommy doesn't love Mitch. I get it, but I do. And for what Tay's saying, I hate to agree, but he's right. That Jose Abreu DFA is what a championship organization does, holding on to the double Mitchwich because you can't get yourself to pay that money to guys not on the team. 54%. I wish we were 54% this year. We were like 52 or so. 54% might have even gotten the job done because it was a league full of a ton of 30 except for the White Sox. So.
Oh, God. Well, and we've seen the local team, when Pete Carroll took over, kick guys to the curb that had giant contracts. Hushmanzada. You're not going to fit in. See you later. So we've actually seen it locally, and it does pay off in the long run. Yeah, it's ripping off a hell of a Band-Aid, but you got to do it. The further you put it off, the more you become the 2024 Mariners. I'd argue Schnardy was Band-Aid. I like that. Sunday evening's got a good one right there.
Okay. I just looked at this up really quick, and I hate to get Stanton's back here, but it is a little bit different because Stanton's worth about 1.1 billion. The Allen Family Trust is 40.5 billion.
So there's okay. I'm not really even sure what to do with that. It's such numbers that just like at that point, does it fucking matter? Like, for God's sake.
Oh, seriously.
Holy hell.
Rest
he's
in
worth
peace.
Rest
in peace. But you're right, though, because you know what I always say? Paul Allen wanted a positive legacy in the Northwest when he passed away, and he absolutely has it. Not only like way beyond the pro sports team, this guy was a philanthropist in so many different avenues. So I just want to say thank you, and I wish Stanton knew that. Look how rich you are. At a certain point, don't you want to be remembered fondly? I mean, the way God forbid, let's just say Stanton passes away tomorrow. He is not going to have the flowers, the reverence. Like, everyone was so sad and heartbroken when Paul Allen passed away. There will not be those same feelings for Stanton as we speak.
You take none of this life with you. Legacy is forever.
Ooh,
what was it?
I love that.
Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Let's go Sandlot.
Yeah.
You take none of this with you. Legacy is forever. And I love that, it's being talking about this yesterday with college football, the NIL, and players moving everywhere. You don't get to kind of watch a guy for 4 years anymore.
Hmm.
The Boise State running back got all these small offers, went to Boise State, proved that he's a monster, got offers from the big schools, and said, no, I want my legacy here. He's one of the rare ones right now, full admission. And, when you're 18, 19, 20, 21, and someone's offering you $7 million, that's a very hard thing to not take up. But I love this kid from Boise State he wants the legacy. He
Hmm.
wants the thing that's going to last for 50 years. And I wish someone like Stanton would think about that in that context where you got a big bank account. La di da, dude. Father Time's undefeated.
Hmm.
You're going to find that hole just like the rest of us. So think about your legacy because you're in position to have a hell of a legacy. Very few people in history are in a position where someone like Stanton is in.
Hmm.
Now, what you do with it is your decision. You know, hopefully, this isn't the end of it. We'll see what he does.
For sure. And I would say there are some organizations, but there's very few organizations in American pro sports where the fan base would be more appreciative if their team won a championship than the Mariners fans. And not more than the Cubs, not more than the Red Sox, but the Mariners are at that point. You can't tell me there wouldn't be 10 teams in the country more appreciative from the fan base if they won the chip than the Seattle Mariners fan base. And I just look at how much everyone revere Paul Allen. We think of him in such high esteem. If he is extremely deserving to be in the Seahawks Ring of Honor. I think
Oh
it
yeah,
would be an empty Ring of Honor without Paul Allen's name up there because the franchise changed the second he bought it. We have now been to three Super Bowls. We won one of them, and we've been. Look at the stats. People can shit on me all they want if they want to, but the Seahawks have been a top 5 or top 10 record ever since Paul Allen bought the team, and Lord knows we cannot say the same for the Mariners because we never even been to the World Series. We are the 40-year-old virgin. We are the dude that peaked in junior high, and I am getting kind of sick of it.
yeah, and I think a lot of the fans, you and I, we can have the same conversations every year. It's like I loved '01, I love '95. I'm tired of just remembering those teams. I want a
Hmm.
new team to remember. Like getting to take my girl to a sports bar, have lunch when the Mariners came back against Toronto in the playoffs. I had to tell her, honey, I don't know how much of an asshole I'm going to be during this game. It hasn't happened since I was in high school. One of the
Uh,
best experiences we've had. But 20 years. I hadn't, I had just turned 40. The last time the Mariners were making the kind of run, I was 18. It's like, God damn. We do get tired of, I hope to God we do this next year and we have a different conversation.
mm.
I I'm not sure. I know we got the winter meetings and the Mariners are the Mariners. They find a way. They find a way to coog it. But we'll see what happens. I know, cheap shot.
God, you talk about the winter meetings, though. Baseball needs to get their business and fan relations side in check, though. They have
Hmm.
all of these playoff games in the middle of the day where no kids and most adults can't watch it. They draw out their off season for several months. And think about football. On football, like the day free agency opens, it's just a bonanza and they own the entire week. Baseball needs to somehow get their owners, get their agents, and get their players more on the same page instead of drawing for the business factor because their transactions get lost in the weeds in the winter anyways because there's football, football, football in terms of American watching. Then you add in basketball and hockey to top it off. I mean, a lot of these great transactions get lost in the shuffle. I'm going off on a tangent here, dude, and we've been rolling on the Mariners so hard. We might need to have you on another time to talk some football because we've been just going hard. But But I love it though, man. And it's nothing personal against anybody else because I love football. I really do. But there's only so many people you can really hammer in with the Mariners on.
Mhm.
It's a certain love, and my brother loves to tease me and my love for the Mariners. He likes the Mariners, but he loves to give me that shit like, when is the football season gonna start, dude? I'm like, it's still baseball.
Well, and I can tell you the phrase is why football is more popular than baseball, and it just has everything to do with their free agent period. Baseball calls it winter meetings, right? Football, legal tampering. Who the that freaking tells you everything.
Fair enough, dude. I
Like,
love it. I absolutely love it, man.
well, and you can tell like it was been a rough time rooting for the local teams to where I'm usually, joining you in some Mariners or Seahawks attire. I went F1 tonight because we got F1 next weekend in Texas, and I'm like, you know what? Huskies, I'm appreciative as an old guy that it was at 9 a.m., but holy hell, did they get railroaded? Nail in the Mariners' coffin. Seahawks are playing teams that have capable quarterbacks, and it's showing.
hmm
Yeah, a rough couple weekends.
And you know what's crazy too? Just to touch on the Seahawks quickly
Oh,
is
Katie.
I. What's funny too is she's telling me like, hurry up,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I mean, so we got both things coming here, but with the Seahawks, dude, everyone's yelling at each other about Geno or the offensive line,
Okay.
but I also wonder why we're not complaining about the run defense when we're giving up like 180 to 220 rushing yards per game. I mean, these teams are playing Madden on easy on us, and this is
Mm-hmm.
NFL football. It's startling, it's scary, it's a problem we've seen for a couple years now. Maybe we just need to pump the brakes a little bit and realize we are going through a pretty major scheme change from Pete Carroll to Mike McDonald, and I mean, the
Yeah.
offensive line needs to play better. I don't even want to get into it necessarily, but it's flabbergasting to me that for some reason everyone wants to concentrate on Geno and the O line when our run D is so porous.
All right, let's take 10 minutes on it. So, defense, what? 27th in the league, yards allowed. You play fantasy football still, right?
Oh yeah.
Anytime I see a running back going against Seahawks, I'm like, yep, I'm playing him. Now I know against Detroit, basically our entire defensive line was out. We do
Mm.
we don't have the depth yet. We're going through the transition. We're going through the 7 and 9 and trying to win the division right now. We just do
Mhm.
not have the depth. It is about as close to a rebuilding as you can be without fully rebuilding. Like you got a new
Mhm.
coaching staff. Yeah, and our defense first 3 games, yeah, we're 3-0. We didn't play anybody. We played Mo Picks, a New England team that almost has ripped it down to the studs. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, I have to have a little fun with the Ducks quarterback. Sorry, guys. And then Miami, which I don't know if they were just putting out walking corpses or what at quarterback. And then you get into teams that are well coached, good schemes, good players, and struggle. We just don't have the depth yet. I love Geno. We ain't winning a Super Bowl with Geno. We're not.
Yeah.
We're not. I love him to death. He is a better version of Seneca Wallace. He is a very capable backup, borderline starter. He, I love, one of my buddies at work. Oh, he got to the Pro Bowl. Tyler Huntley got to the Pro Bowl, homie. Mitch Trubisky got to the Pro Bowl because the top 5 guys go, yeah, that ain't worth my time.
Mhm.
I absolutely love him, but the team you would have to have around him is like Tampa Bay with in the 2000s with Derek Brooks, Simeon
Yep.
Wright, just all these just Warren Sapp and all these monsters.
Mhm.
We don't have that right now. So I think we do need to pump the brakes a little bit because I don't think we're near as good as those first 3 games started. Where the turnovers are very worrisome because that's something that overall is kind of controllable. And Gino's
That's
getting
my
picked off.
problem.
Yeah, Gino's getting picked off.
Dude, if you get sacked, I think that we're being maybe Gino in the offense, and I mean the buck stops with the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I get how bad the offensive line has been at times. Huge shout out Charles Cross. That guy's been freaking
Been a
awesome. He's
monster.
been
Love him.
everything you could absolutely hope for from a top 10 left tackle. If I ever hear one more fan try to compare any top 10 left tackle to Walter Jones, I'm going to lose my mind. That's the same reason I don't compare Julio to Ken
No,
Griffey Jr. Some guys are just so high up on the pedestal of Hall of Fame
different.
greatness that they're in a different category. We don't judge them to that. That's not fair. But sacks are okay. They're a lot better than picks, and we have
Yeah.
arguably the best punter in football to top it off.
Yeah, we do. And it's especially the last couple of games where we got behind, there was no sense of balance at all. Do you see how many times Gino attempted passes? Like, I don't want Gino throwing the ball 50 times. Are you nuts?
Nope.
If I see him throwing it 30 times, I'm worried. Let alone, like, I'm 30 of 51. Oh, yeah, we lost. I don't have to read anything else.
Mm.
You can read that, and it's like, we did not win. Guaranteed goddamn to it. There's no way Gino put it up that many times and we win. We have, I love Ken Walker, love Cross. And it's easy to say as a fanboy, but we got to have more balance. If they know the fastball's coming, why wouldn't you sit
Mm.
on it? See, outside baseball and football any damn day.
You know, next Sunday will be a huge enlightening period for the Seahawks
Good word
going
for
to
that.
Atlanta because I will learn so much about this team playing Atlanta, in my opinion.
I think so. And
Because they have a
hopefully,
capable running game, and Kirk
yeah,
Cousins, if he's got time, he'll cut you up. But if you get after his ass, it's a different quarterback. And so we'll see what happens there. I also really hope we get Byron Murphy back because
that's huge.
I don't know, but all I know is since he got hurt, our rush defense has been abysmal. It was pretty damn good when we had him in there.
With him and Leonard Williams clogging up the middle. I mean, we
Mhm.
remember Cortez and Sam Adams clog up the middle.
Oh, dude, I don't have it all. I have a Cortez jersey. I'm that kind of guy.
Yes. Yes.
Shout out to my Matsumoto grandparents. So Oro wheat bread back at that time, they would put a Seahawks trading card in every loaf of bread that you would buy. And my grandparents always bought Oro wheat bread, but they were so terrible. I have like countless Cortez Kennedy Oro wheat cards because he was the
Oh,
only one that kids would want.
that's wonderful. I didn't know they did that. That's cool.
Yeah, well, you grow up in a certain time period, I guess. We're getting old out
Yeah.
here. We're getting old.
Oh gosh, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
Tommy's right. Murphy getting doubled frees up Big Cat, frees up a lot of dudes. We gotta get Boye Mafe back and healthy. Derek Hall. I mean, there's so many
dude,
negatives. Seahawks fan. His improvement year 1 to 2 is spectacular.
that jump that he's made, he wasn't on the team last year. I don't recognize that guy. I know
Hmm.
it says Hall, like I don't recognize him at all. Mike McDonald, that he can coach defense, and I do think without Williams and Murphy, that's a problem. I think you've brought it up countless times on our Super Bowl team. The D line did not get the credit they deserve because without them, the Boom, Wagner, and KJ, they're not doing what they can do without those four doing what they can do. And it
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
four; it was our Super Bowl year was 8. They
and
rotated
they
like
were all hella
Averill,
good.
Averill and Bennett weren't even starting.
Yep.
They rotated in. I think it was Averill Bennett that led the Seahawks that year with 8.5 sacks. We didn't have anyone killing it in sacks,
Hmm.
but you heard the footsteps. That's a great point with Kirk Cousins. If he starts hearing footsteps, gets a little happy feet, that clock speeds up a little bit. I know he's a veteran. He's got, been around the block a little bit. Rattle him a couple times because with Mooney and London and Bijan, he'll cut you up a little bit. So That it will be a very intriguing game.
Yeah, I'm just looking here, and Mariners Lifer and Texas Power are both right. I mean, the quarterback's the most important position in all of team sports, so I mean, there's a reason they get talked about so much.
Yeah.
I just one disappointment I've had this year is I have been on the Cam Ward trade to be a Seahawk for 3 years now, and he's played so
Hmm.
goddamn well in Miami. He's going to go too high for us to pick him.
Yes, he is. I worry about that. As a Husky fan, I always kind of keep one eye on the Cougs just because, especially with the way the college football landscape has changed and how they've screwed over Washington State, Oregon State.
Mm,
And I know the guy's last name is not Mater, it's Mateer or whatever. I like to have fun with him just because but is he going to play so well that he's going to get bought by another school? Cougs are going to
mm,
lose him. And then he pulls a Cam Ward where he kills it for whatever school he goes to, shoots up the draft board. It's hard to see some of these kids not doing that and say no to that. I mean, Cam Ward, like you said,
yeah.
like, oh man, depending on where we finish, that's reasonable. But then you get teams that draft a quarterback number one, throw him behind a shit offensive line, and they're garbage. Or you get a team who can actually plan for the future and draft a guy and sit behind Alex Smith, not be an inept franchise, and now they've won 3 Super Bowls.
Mm,
So, I would love, we need to draft Gino's replacement. I would love to do it while he's still here. I would love to give a guy some time because something that doesn't even get talked about. A lot of these teams with the realignment of college football, they're struggling when they have to travel coast to coast because they're supposed to be students. Give me a break. When they're a year under these quarterbacks' belt, not even of just learning the system and throwing to the guys, a year of just learning how to travel, of
mm.
how to get your body clock if you get drafted by San Diego or Seattle or San Francisco, and then you go to New York, Jacksonville, get your body clock on the right time.
Mm.
Learning how to travel and distance, learning how to go through the preseason, the off season, the whole schedule, depending on if you go to the playoffs. Like, that is a long season. I think there's so much value in drafting a guy while you still have your, let's be fair, your holdover, and let them learn just how to be in the NFL, how to travel.
Mm.
And then, in addition to the system and your players and your schemes and coaches. But I think
Mm.
that's one of those things that's not talked about enough is these kids need to learn how to keep their bodies healthy, minds healthy, traveling coast to coast. And now,
Mm.
freaking, where are we at? We had a game in Brazil, London, obviously. Well, we got Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm missing
Mexico,
something too. Thank you.
Mexico City. Yeah.
I was like, I'm missing something. They're going all over. They're getting close to going all over the damn globe.
Mm.
It's weird when you sit on a plane for 10 hours how tired you are.
Mm.
It's a very strange feeling. So, learning how to do that effectively is one of those skills that the rookies need to be taught that just never gets talked about. Not quite sure why.
Well, I'm the biggest believer ever that teams ruin young quarterbacks all the time, and that
100%.
situation matters a ton. Like, I absolutely love Russell Wilson. I
Hmm.
absolutely love what he did for the team. But if he went to the Browns in that 2012 draft, he doesn't become Russell Wilson that
No.
we all know. Like, but he went to a team with the best power back in football, one of the top 5 or top 10 defenses of all time.
Hmm.
That's how you bring a quarterback along. Does every single Jets young quarterback suck, or are they doing something wrong? Our homie on the live chat, Texas Power Ranger, is a Houston Texans guy. CJ Stroud, unbelievable quarterback. I've loved him for a long time now, but they give him a premier left tackle. They have Nico Collins. They draft Tank Dell. And then what? Oh, we're not satisfied with that. We're gonna bring in even more veterans with
Seriously.
Mixon and Stephon Diggs and Schultz, and there's ways of doing this, and teams ruin young quarterbacks all the time. Although I think Gino won't be on the team next year. Just do he's going to have a big contract raise, while it won't be very punitive to cut him in relation to what his salary will be. So I honestly think he's on borrowed time at this point. But hey, then let's draft a quarterback and put Sam Howell out there. He'd be capable enough to show him the ropes. I mean, yeah, he led the league
Agreed.
in picks last year, but he had a lot of touchdowns too. But the point is you're absolutely right. Stop ruining these young quarterbacks. They
Mm,
need help to reach the heights they are. I mean, there's only a couple of high pick quarterbacks ever that overcame their shitty franchise. And
yeah.
all I can think of is like Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck for the same team for some odd reason. But I mean, it's very rare that a quarterback can just lift a shitty team out by himself. You need to build up around him to make it happen. And then once he's hopefully in 5 years when he becomes a 50 or $60 million player, he's good enough to carry guys on his back, so to speak.
Different era. It's not meant to be a dig. Sorry, Cowboys. Troy Aikman. 1 in 15 his rookie year, but they built it.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Smith, Michael Irvin had great defenses, bringing Jimmy Johnson, yada yada. I don't feel like there's that time for development. I mean, we're such an instant gratification society now that unless you are just coming out of the blocks and lighting it up, it's like, well, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong? They're human. People learn at different speeds.
Mm-hmm.
You can bring this back to baseball. People, it clicks at different speeds for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have no problem having Sam Howell be the quarterback next year. And again, we're not winning a Super Bowl with him, but can you draft the guy that you can win the Super Bowl with in 5 years, and not just win the Super Bowl with, get back to, compete, be on that doorstep year in, year out? It's not 1 year, it's multiple, want to be a problem for multiple years again. I'm hopeful Mike McDonald will get him back to that.
Oh, we're coming back.
Yeah.
We're coming back. And I mean, we have a rookie head coach, a rookie OC, and a rookie DC. There's going to
Mhm.
be learning pains. I still love Ryan Grubb. He does some
Oh my
great
God, yes.
things. But he has had some terrible moments out there, and it's part of the learning curve, man. And so we're gonna have to give this thing a little bit of time to marinate. And I do believe in the guys that are running the ship. We do have some good players too. It's not like we're
Hmm.
completely shitty. So that's what makes it kind of tough to find a young quarterback. But hey, this is why, like we said, this is why you guys get paid millions and live in the best neighborhoods, because you need to figure it out.
Draft and develop, baby. Draft and develop.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want to get too far off here, but I love Cam Ward. I also like Shador Sanders, and I know he's super polarizing.
Really?
If the okay,
Oh, that's
because
interesting.
the media brings up so much attitude stuff, but we don't know, and I don't know how much is clickbait. So I always kind
100%.
of let
Yep.
that let the scouts and let the front offices figure that out. But I love that he has to work within a chaotic pocket, because so many of these great college quarterbacks are on super teams and they only play an equal team once or twice a year. So we get these Alabama quarterbacks that never have to face a pass rush for 4 years. This dude is already learning how to deal with a chaotic pocket, and that's the NFL. That's what it's really like. But we'll see. I mean, we got millions of hours to dive deep into college football players as this shit evolves. So
Yeah, because even when you draft a quarterback, you know, he could be out for the whole year, McCarthy with the Vikings, and then coming
mhm.
back to all Jets quarterbacks are crap. I don't know. Sam Darnold's been all right, and he's not on a completely inept franchise anymore.
Yep.
He's on a
Look
functioning
at Geno
franchise.
Smith.
Yeah,
Say what you will. He's revived his
yeah,
career. Even if he doesn't become a full-time starter again, he's extended his career for 5 or 6 more years if he wants that money.
100%.
So
100%. So
we all want everyone to be Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. That's not the case. And
that's not real.
part of the reason I've been such a Geno supporter is because I always felt he's a bridge quarterback.
Yeah.
If a guy is 32, he's now 34. That's not your young franchise quarterback, and that's okay. Can you keep it from being shitty? Because everyone's like, "Oh, let's tank and get the first pick," but the same five teams are always picking in the top five every year, so the shit doesn't happen on accident.
There's a reason. And being self aware is a very powerful thing. Gino is a bridge. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need to be able to build up your entire roster. You can't just rely on even one position. As important as quarterback is, you throw them behind these god awful lines, take 3 steps back, and oh, now they're smiling in my face. I remember Sam Bradford when he was at Oklahoma. He could make a sandwich back there before he freaking threw the ball. And then he
Mm-hmm.
gets into the NFL with constant pressure, constant OC changes, and he just never quite pans out to much.
Mm-hmm.
That's that great thing of the Alabama quarterbacks. CJ Stroud, I wasn't that high on him because I'm like, well, I haven't really seen many Ohio State's quarterbacks come in as good as they've been, as good of athletes as they've
Mm-hmm.
been, and really do much. He's been great. He's been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was one of the frustrating realizations bringing back to the Mariners is we are one of those franchises. At least we have been. It's been frustrating to watch, been frustrating to be a fan of, but it sucks. But it's at this point, I'm going to say it's reality.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Baker and Darnold, yeah, they were available. I mean, it kind of
Yeah.
is what it is. And at least at the moment when we went to Geno, it was keeping some continuity together. I honestly, if we gave Pete Carroll and John Schneider true serum when Geno made his first start against Wilson and the Broncos a few years
Mm.
ago, I don't think they think Geno might have lasted this long. But he did. And that's what happened. And you know, I always say there's championship contenders and there's playoff contenders. The Seahawks are clearly hoping, like you said, have a average season and somehow get in. So we'll see how this whole thing shakes out. But it's a fun time of year. It's a fun time of year, man. And holy cow, we've been just going hard, bro.
I just noticed that too. And the football talk has made that chat live and up.
It does. It's so funny. I mean,
Hello.
and one thing we're gonna do on my oh my is we're already winding down baseball. Honestly,
Mm.
if it wasn't for you coming on today, we would have done less baseball than we did. But I know
Ah,
from your point of view, you had so much you could get off your chest. But anytime you want to come back on, because we're gonna evolve more with the seasons. My oh
okay.
my, it's another sports podcast. Will always be Mariners centric, but opposed to previous iterations we are going to evolve with the seasons much more because you can only beat a dead horse in the winter about baseball for so long, and everybody loves football. So we're gonna move with the sports seasons this year, just as a heads up.
Tay Williams, appreciate you on that one. I hate Jerry Jones. Yeah. And even with speaking with Cowboys fans, like obviously you have an owner who should not be the GM, but who does care and who is putting forth effort. I almost think this is I don't even know if I want to say this out loud. I almost think Mariners fans would I don't know if appreciate's the right word, but we would be open-minded to having a character like Jerry Jones as an owner because at least you know that they're invested in not just for the money.
I would trade Stanton for Jerry Jones 100 out of 100. It's
Yeah, I
not
think
even
you know what I'm getting. I think you know what I'm getting
Yeah,
at.
no,
I
I
mean,
know because there's the headaches. There's
yeah,
massive headaches. I feel that as a GM and an owner, he's too close to the players. He loves them too much. But we don't know if our owner cares. We know Jerry Jones absolutely lives, breathes
yeah,
Cowboys.
yeah, he does. But at what point do the headaches become too much? Have to talk to Cowboys fans. Have to have to talk to some of these other franchises where their owners are just, a little bit out there and go with it. So, not a problem we seem to have.
All right, Tay Williams. Quick question, Tay. Do the Seahawks or the Cowboys make it back to the Super Bowl first as we stand today?
Uh,
What do
you
you
know,
think?
I heard a joke last year about the Cowboys. Tay, I apologize for this one. Cowboys fans are just bitter that the Lions have made more NFC Championship games than the Cowboys this century.
Tay with the fire,
I
bro.
apologize, man. I heard
Hey,
that one.
don't
I did not make
apologize.
it up, but it's
You don't
like,
need to apologize. We're all here to talk
who,
that shit, man. You know.
who gets back to the dance first? I honestly, even though I honestly have to give it to the Hawks. This might be hometown bias. I have to give it to the Hawks, and it is because of Jerry Jones. It is because he can put talent on the field, but for whatever reason, they keep running up the hill, and they've had some really good teams, and they get so far, and they get about 90% there, and then just they find the hole and sink right and slide right back down. It's such a strange one. It hasn't mattered the coach, it hasn't mattered the players. It's been a similar formula. I'm not really sure. So for that reason, I would have to give the edge to the Hawks, and it is because of Jerry
Oh,
Jones. Oh, let's see this.
you see this?
If
Tay
Jerry
just
lives,
made me
got Jesus.
say it so everyone can hear.
Well, let's see. If Jerry lives, the Cowboys die. All right. Okay, my football teams. Damn. Unless Jerry gets this responsibility. I remember hating my football team to see it. Wow. Okay.
Remember, Texas Power is a Houston Texans fan, so he's
Ah,
seen a lot of lean years, and I don't think
yes.
there's a fan that's not like Houston's pretty damn good.
But they still have the worst name in the NFL. Who decided on the Texans? That's terrible. I, um, I don't know. I know the nicknames are just kind of for fun, but why didn't they just go back to the Oilers?
I think Tennessee stole it.
It's te-
That's honestly the
That's
only thing I can think of. And
yeah. I
if
think you might
you
be
remember,
right.
think back in
I,
your brain. I swear they had a year
I
or
think
two
they
where they were
might.
the Tennessee Oilers before
I
they
think you're
changed.
right, actually. I think they had the helmets on the side. I think McNair might have
Yeah,
had the
exactly. And
and
they had a
Eddie
very
George. I think they
iconic
might have had it on the
logo with
side.
the. Yep. I mean, so
Oof.
how pissed would you be
That's
if we don't get to be the Seattle SuperSonics again? So I
you
feel for
had to
Houston.
say it out loud, man. God damn it.
We
And
got
my
to keep
best
it real on this show. We got to keep it real
well,
here.
my best friend lives in Oklahoma, and even during the playoffs, he's like, "You're rooting for Dallas? Why?" I'm like, "Because they beat Oklahoma. There's no other reason I'm rooting for the Mavericks except they beat Oklahoma." As much as I was saying I'm vote with my dollars, when we get the Sonics back, I'm going to the first game that we play the Thunder, and I am going to be a complete Neanderthal asshole, booing, whatever I can do, because that's where the sports fun and the sports just comes in. Do I wish anyone on the court ill will? Of course not. But you got to be at those events. I still remember being at the first game where A Rod came back and Monopoly money came coming down every part of Safeco, fluttering down because he took the giant contract with the Texans or with the Rangers. Those are some of those moments that are just like you just sometimes you just want to be there for something that you know is going to be great. And
Mm.
when the Thunder come to play the Sonics for the first time, that is going to be great.
No. Oh.
I give him chills.
Oh man.
Oh, is it ownership? Tennessee, Houston, any franchise? That's why they can't. That still stinks that they can't use some of the old Oilers like history and yeah.
So clearly it got taken. And so what
Yeah.
we're kind of hoping Texas Power is and who knows what's actually going to happen, but as we understand it, if the Seattle gets a NBA team again, then they get all of their Seattle Supersonic swag back in Seattle. I'll believe it when I see it, but I hope Oklahoma's true to their word on that.
That's what they've said, that we get our history back, because anytime you see like Gary Payton leading, assists, leads,
Yep.
it was like, give me a fucking break. Like, come
Oh
on.
yeah. Oh yeah. All your favorites.
Ah, shoot. I'm hot
Downtown
now.
Freddie Brown, Oklahoma Thunder legend.
Dale Ellis, Thunder sharpshooter. God's sake.
Exactly. Exactly.
Uh,
Well, man, I mean, we've been going on and on. Is there
well,
anything, Mariners, Seahawks, anything you need to get off your chest here?
let's see. Seahawks, I think we're still going to be around 500 by the end of the year. What I'm kind of hoping for is kind of like Hall and Murphy and a legit step forward for some of these young players. Um, the Mariners, that is such a tricky, what are your final thoughts? My final thoughts on the Mariners. Don't be the Mariners. Like, I don't know. It's such a tricky, we've kind of put ourselves in a crap position to where we don't really have position players coming up to match the pitching, because Jerry drafted a bunch of pitching because we needed it. Great. We're in a pretty tricky spot. Um, if you're going to spend, which I think they should, spend wisely. We're going to have to do something like we did with Cano. We're going to have to overpay. And if you're going to overpay, you better overpay for someone who's worth it, like an Otani. But the people in the MLB that are at that level that are worth the overpay are pretty rare. I still think if we have to overpay for Cal, we should, because of what he provides behind the plate, calling the game and just his presence. He provides so much besides just the bat. We are in a very tricky spot. I'm curious what we do. And if you ask me, do I have a lot of faith in it? No, I do not, because I'm a freaking Mariners fan.
Well, history tells you to have little faith, but I'm a believe. I'm a believe. We're gonna
Believe
get it
big.
done despite. Oh, go there you go. Oh man. You want to talk about a slogan that backfired? I think "Believe Big" might have even been the slogan when they became the first team to lose 100 games on $100 million payroll.
The Sean Figgins year, yeah.
Oh god. Oof. There's a name.
Wasn't that great?
Well, y'all, it's been a blast, man. It's been a blast. My man Erik is always bringing so much knowledge, so much fun. We got to give a huge shout out to Indy out there in Nashville, Tennessee. I know that you've had some friends and some people that you care about going through some crazy times with the hurricanes down south. So I just want to give our heartfelt thoughts out to your friends and family that have been deeply affected by these crazy hurricanes down there. But Indy and his wonderful fiance Darby, Vaden Podcast Services, they bring this show to life. Like I said, Erik, Easy E, it's always been amazing to chop it up with you. Got to give a shout out to my amazing wife Katie for all the help she does on the social media aspect. And of course, the live chat. Erik, you need to say something, man. This live chat is something else. They bring so much fire and energy to the show that they have become an equal part of it, in my opinion.
Dude, so you guys are usually for those of you who don't know, I'm a UPS driver also, and I mainly listen to podcasts. It kind of keeps me going throughout the day. On Tuesday mornings, driving out to route is when I listen to my boy here, and they always reference the live chat. I don't always get to watch it on Sundays because, family, 7-year-old daughter, she takes a lot of time. All good. This live chat is incredible. Like it is so much fun seeing the live chat. I gotta say it's a little helped by the Jerry Jones, just I'm gonna drop a deuce on Jerry Jones printouts. Always a good time. I love that. Katie, thank you. Indy, thank you. RG, I cannot wait to do one of these with you. I do not have the lyrics like you do, my man. I don't have that skill. Love you, buddies. I hope you're safe wherever you're at. And again, thank you guys for having me back. Cannot wait for next time, because at this point, I think it's safe to say there's always going to be a next time.
Fair enough, man. Well, like you said it, man. The live chat brings the fire. They drop knowledge. Their jokes are freaking hilarious. Love everyone in the live chat. But of course, my co-host, the notorious RG, can't be replaced. But we try our best not to let the car crash without you here. Try to get you back in the batter's box next week, dog. But y'all know, Ty Talks, my, oh my, it's another podcast. Get at us, people.